Hi, this is John Ricciutti at WXVU, the Roar 89.1 in Villanova University. And our guest today on Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things is two-time boxing champ Bernard Hopkins. B-Hop, as he is called, is an American former professional boxer who competed from 1988 to 2016. He is one of the most successful boxers of the past 3 decades, having held multiple world championships in 2 weight classes, including the undisputed middleweight title from 2001 to 2005 and the linear light heavyweight title from 2011 to 2012. Welcome to our show. My co-host again is the awards-winning local documentarian, Jill Frechie. She is also recording the event today, or interview, on film.
Yes.
So, Bernard, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go, and thank you, Jill, for making sure that everything's going to be nice and tidy. So let's have fun.
My
Jill,
pleasure.
Jill, thank you for
coming.
You got your Hollywood look today, sunglasses, and and Joy's here.
Yes. Joy's here.
Your agent. She's
in the cut. This is amazing. The traffic cop of my life.
I guess let's start with your childhood. You're a local guy, Philly, North Philly.
Sure, yes. Okay. Yeah, local guy in North Philadelphia. Mother migrated to Germantown in the 70s to get away from the at that time, really gang violence and things like that. And she wanted to get that 2 or 3 kids out of there at the time because it wound up being 5 of us. But, I'm the second oldest to the 5. So.
Oh, you have 5
yes.
siblings.
Yep.
Okay.
She wanted to get us out of there.
Don't bang on the table. All right. You got big hands. You're a boxer. I know that. But don't.
It's just heavy. It just dropped it and sound like I'm banging.
Okay. Well,
but I keep them in my lap.
Okay.
Like I used to do in school.
Okay. So what were you in the Raymond Rosen project?
Raymond Rosen. Yep. 25th and Diamond. Yeah. Really.
My mom grew up at 7th and Diamond.
Yeah, 7th and Diamond, but yeah, 25th and Diamond's where I grew up at, and it was a neighborhood that you had to know where you at all times, even at a young age.
Were you an angry child as a kid growing up?
I would say I was aggressive.
Aggressive?
Yeah.
Does that explain the mugging of kids when you were 13, or people, whoever you were mugging?
Everybody that was in the radiance of my presence, and it was more in the situation of aggressive. Like I just liked to fight. I just liked to fight, and whoever was in the crossfire of that, they got it. And it was a thing where I felt that. It made me somebody. It made me respected, and I think it was more fear that I enjoyed seeing people that can fight. Also, not a lot of them, but it was some that thought they was just as, I guess, bad as I was, and then it was some that got caught in between. That became very, very. Intoxicated. It became more something I wanted, and more something like I was getting respected. And this is at a young age. Like, when you walk up the street and they scatter, or you walk up the street and everybody tightening up. That to me became something of respect. And from that mindset, from my perspective at that time, I'm looking at it like, I'm the man. I'm respected.
Did that grow out of your home? Was there something with your parents or your?
I think if I look back, and I think a lot had to do with just my surroundings, more outside than inside, because my mother was really tough. My mother was tougher than my dad when it came to discipline, and it came to saying something that we did. It didn't get past her. My dad's senior. I'm named after my dad. I'm junior, and my dad is senior, of course. He'll say something. If she tell him to say something, more or less like he won't be the first one to chastise her, but my mom will. The judge see you more than a couple times. After a while, you start. You look at the point system. You look at the convictions, and eventually they're like, you graduated. I mean, we got school. You graduate from this grade to that grade, and then elementary to high school to college. That same system in a different way is like that in the system. Think about it. I mean, that's the way I look at it, and I phrase it that way, is that, I come from the juvenile system, from the youth study center on the Parkway. They used to be there. It's the Barnes now, right?
Right.
So I remember those places and stuff. Matter of fact, I wanted to be so close to that place early in my boxing pro career. I bought a condo right there, City View. It's called Corman Suites now, and it used to look right down at the youth study center, which I have on film by all the ESPN guys when they was coming to interview me for my championship fights. So I got that raw footage, even though it's not there anymore. That's the reason I wanted to get it. But the amateurs and the early stages of my career, I said, listen, where I come from in my past, it really kept me motivated to be the things that I became in that moment.
I have to ask you, as a kid, I spent a weekend in jail in Ocean City, New Jersey. How did you do 5 years in prison?
I kept my head on the swivel, and I made sure that you don't trust anybody, even though you sort of get friends and know people from your old neighborhood that's happened and been there before, or they came in a little after you got there. Listen, it was a whole bunch of tougher people than Bernard Hopkins there. It was people that knew my father. I mean, you gotta remember, it's generations of people there. Like, we call old heads, right? Right now they call them OGs, but we call them our old head. So in my era, it was our old heads. Hey, I know your uncle, whether you believe this guy or not. And then you realize when you call home, when you get your phone calls, you start asking, do you know a guy this, do you know a guy like this, that, you know? And they start saying, yeah, from 23rd and Diamond, from 12th and Dolphin. So yes, there were people that knew my family. Listen, I had two uncles, Artie McLeod and Juju Hopkins. Mother, Artie McLeod, middleweight, Art Paluto, Russell Peltz promoted him. He would have been in his late 60s now, going on 70. He was a well-respected middleweight in Philadelphia. Could have been champion, but the streets got him. Then it was on my father's side. Juju Hopkins fought in his 60s and late 50s. It's in my DNA. So two uncles on both sides that I received that DNA from was local respected fighters through the tri-state area. I took it to a level of world historic Hall of Famer that would never go away. It would never be erased. So it was embedded in me. I had to go through some life lessons. And it was blessed, not lucky, because I believe luck and I are enemies. I don't believe in luck. I don't think you can create luck. I think you create your own good and own bad based on timing and based on how you approach it. And once I realized that, I took off far as mentally and the discipline of all these things I spoke about up to now.
Good.
So when did you actually start boxing? If you had all this DNA, why didn't your mom and dad try to keep you off the streets and maybe direct you in that direction early on?
They couldn't. They couldn't. Because once I left
Did they try?
Yes. My mother was a really good friend of a lot of fighters, even Benny Briscoe, the Philadelphia legend. She grew up in North Philly. My aunts, which is her sisters, it's 5 of them. They all can fight. My sisters and them got a better left hook than I do. Bernadette is a year older than me. Charmaine, Marcy, Yolanda, they all can fight. They never had no problem. None of their boyfriends or anybody ever came, or friends even came and said they got to, take up for me. They handle themselves. Even to the day, they stay in shape. They work out. And I want to get off. Charmaine, the youngest one, just retired from Graterford after 30 years. She was a guard. My mother did stress to us, never be dependent, be independent. And I remember my mom always said that because she's always a hustler. She used to always make Mother's Day flowers on Mother's Day. We always had to sell them on the corner. She had a wood ice stand. She had a hot dog cart on Erie Avenue, Germantown and Erie. Because if you take the 23 trolley at the time, it takes you straight up to Chestnut Hill, make that turnaround, and go all the way down to 11th and Market. So I remember those days from a youngster.
That was the longest running trolley in the country at one time.
Correct. But listen, I remember those times. So my mother did all, back to your question, she did all she can do. But when you got a teenage boy, and you got a Michael who was a year behind me, who got killed in 84 when I was going to prison in 84. I remember the year 1983 and going into 1984. How do I remember this so clearly like yesterday? When the last time we won a championship basketball game in the Philadelphia 76ers? It was in 83. In 1983, going into 84, was the beginning of my teaching and my experience to become what I became later. 83 and 84 all the way up to 88. And that's why I put the Sixers' last win of a championship was in 83. And that's how I would tell my story. Because you need to have something outside of what you're talking about to put together and say, I remember because of this day, because of that day, because of this day. I'll always remember one of my biggest wins, and I was the biggest underdog, fighting Felix Tito Trinidad in 01 9/11. Why? I was in New York City when it happened, when the Twin Towers went down. My camera guy that I paid separately to keep a film camera on me every time I walk. Why? Because I was preparing ahead of time to tell my own story, but film it now. That is something that wasn't taught. That was something I knew I needed to do because one day I'd be able to talk and have receipts to back it up.
I just want to mention that I watched your video, short documentary called Alien last night. 42 minutes of your story. I just want to recommend it for anyone that's listening.
Yes.
It goes through your beginning of your career up really until you retired, and you were quite a left-right hook guy.
Yeah.
You're really fast, and you really had a lot of knockouts. But what was really left the viewer was your just sheer determination and that look in your eye, and you just were like very intimidating. And I think eventually they called you the executor. I could see why. Talk about that a little bit. Where did that drive come from to just knock them out?
I'm glad you mentioned that because everything is in the nonverbals that's really verbals to the guy and your opponent that has to see through you. And I mastered it, especially when a referee calls two guys out from the corner in the middle of the ring when you watch a boxing match. And he remind them about the rules he gave them in the dressing room, which they do. When your opponent, at the weigh-in the day before and at the night, the fight, and they look at you, I say they look at you.
Who's that?
But I look, your opponent, we have to look at each other before we go back to the corner and then the bell ring and then it's combat. When they look at me, I'll look through them. I said two different things. I'm going to say it again. When they look at me, I'll look through them. My opponents see the pain, see the hurt, see the struggle, see everything that he cannot mention, and he will surrender. And then I will physically, because I put my work in, because I trained, because I did all the work in gym, in the camp for 8 weeks, the physical part will come out. If you had these things based on just a stare and you didn't put the physical behind it, then you become a fool and you will get beat. So I back my stuff up with the work behind it. That means 4:30, snow, rain, sleep, or sunshine, just in case you got the same energy. Just in case you have the same demeanor. Because that's my protection. My protection is to put security behind that look, that stare. While they looking at me, I'm looking through them. So that's only the first surface of it. When that bell ring, he'll never forget what he's seen or what he thinks he's seen. But one thing that will ensure it is the skills and the pressure and the punishment. that I would put on it. What I told myself when I boxed, I'm going to take all the pain I feel, I'm going to make him feel it. And to have that control only in the ring and not in society, to me, I mastered that.
All right, fans, here we go with the bout you've all been waiting for. 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world.
There's a philosophy behind it. Where did the philosophy come from? Is it something you learned? It was something, it was innate? Was it something that evolved? Or did someone teach it to you?
It was more of instincts, and it became something as time went on, experience. I would say most of it was trial and error. I had to go through things, I had to learn things to be able to feel the way I felt, and I also had to have a vision. And I had the vision more. And I've been good at having a good way of breaking things down, even if it's just non-boxing, non-fight, like things of theory. Like I'm a guy that I like to figure things out, and I would spend more time than I should, but I like to figure things out to get to the bottom of it. And I became obsessed with that, even in the littlest things, which can drive anybody that's close to me crazy. But I've been so successful with it in my own life that I sort of injected into my way of being of especially business outside of boxing, that I'm a part of 100%, and some I'm partners with. It's just I want to know everything about everything I'm about or into. I don't want nobody feed me anything. I want to be able to feed myself.
I have a question. As a woman, how hard is it to recover after one of those boxing matches? I mean, you're just pounding each other.
Great question. Great question.
But Bernard Hopkins isn't fading.
No, and the bet looks pretty good, at least for the moment, as he gives Trinidad a spirited fight.
Bernard Hopkins is dictating the tempo, and he's making Trinidad think about coming more to him.
Hopkins sticks the jab right on the point of Trinidad's chin as round 3 comes to a close.
It'll usually take me, because I take care of myself. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't eat bad foods, I don't stay up late, I don't be in clubs. That is a factor in recovery. Believe it or not, trust me, you ain't got to get over a hangover. You ain't got to remember what you did do or didn't do. Because of my lifestyle, my recovery is less than 2 weeks. Prior to some recoveries could be 4 weeks. Some recoveries could be 5 weeks. But my recovery is not as long as a person that abused themselves in between. And some is brave enough to try to do it as they active. And I'm not saying they bad people or good people. It's just something they didn't master early on. You are what you put in your body to an extent. And I've learned that early in my career because of what lessons. I've seen others who had more talented than me, who was talented than me, who was a bigger puncher. But something about their lifestyle didn't shorten the fuse of their life in boxing or football or basketball. There was so many examples that I've seen, whether I knew the person or not, because of their lifestyle, they never got to blossom to their full potential. And so I said, listen, I don't have to be the gold medal winner. It would have been nice. The contracts are bigger. The promotional and the PR is huge. Roy Jones, Oscar De La Hoya, my business partner in Golden Boy Promotion. But if my lifestyle and my work ethics are 100% all the time, then I will outlast the most talented guy out of the bunch who has the opposite behavior when he's not active is when most athletes destroy their their career going forward into at least 10 years. They said 10 years or less, athletes, you have that window to earn, to establish greatness. After that, it seems they count you out. If you're in the NBA and you're in your mid-30s, they count the next, without injuries. So I've learned. Listen, I stopped at 52. 52 years old. Just kicked in another gear at 40. I was just starting over.
So you never ate a cannoli?
Not having a cannoli. They got some good cannolis.
In the saloon?
That's the saloon. They try to have the vanilla cannoli. It was really good. They got all these brands now. They look really enticing, but I said, no, I can't. If I eat a cannoli, it probably everything just fall apart on me. But I didn't take the cannoli. I had a shot espresso.
Oh, okay.
So you still have those work ethics, and you still watch your weight and don't. It's amazing.
Yes.
If you continue that, even though you don't have to.
I don't, and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that is proven now after my career has always been 7 years. It's a lifestyle.
Did you find religion in prison?
No, I found religion early on through my family and the roots of aunts and uncles who came up mainly in the 60s, which was in the late, and definitely in the 70s, but in the 60s. And so religion, Islam to me, was so important at that moment. And then I started in that condition. You need something to gravitate to. You need something of hope. And part of, and I would say about 50%, was getting through times where everything was a dream, but when do it become reality and you can do it before it was done? I needed religion. I needed something that was bigger than me and what I was getting praised for by the inmates being a champion for 3 years out of the 5 years. That's an institution. I failed every time I was in any institution, whether it was juvenile or adult, county, upstate road, or prison or Holmesburg on Charlesdale Avenue. What happens when you get out? I've always failed when I got out. Why wouldn't I fail now when I tell all the inmates, I'm going to go get y'all a champion. I'm going to get y'all a championship. I'm going to be world champion. And majority was rooting for me. And some wasn't. And I went out with that concept.
Well, the warden told you he was going to see you again.
As I walk out with the box in my hands. One box. And they was asking me, you don't need this, you're going home, man. So I'm throwing it. I kept my pictures, I kept my letters that was given to me over the years and birthday cards. Hey, you might as well keep that stuff. You will be back in 6 months. I remember that. I remember that when I sit down and negotiate deals with my representation behind me. I remember that when someone said, you can't do that, Bernard, it's foolish. Why would you do that? Why would you waste your time? You made it. I think about the warden every time I'm told what I cannot do more than what I can do. Because I'm battle tested when it comes to trying to verbally tell me what I can't do and think I'm going to believe you. I've already done something that seemed to be impossible, or the statistic is so low that is not needing nothing to talk about when it comes to going the path that I've created for myself at that time, and realized that I'm more than just Y4145. I'm more than just an inmate. I'm more than just the guy with the Browns on and the brown boots and the hat flipped up.
Did you ever go back and talk to that warden?
Yes. No.
No.
I never went back there, but I did go back. As I said earlier in this interview, that they let me come back to graded form. When I say they let me come back, they let me train and spar with the sparring partners that I left there. And then in between that, they let me speak to them in a gymnasium, encourage them. If you go and YouTube Bernard Hopkins on Brian Gumbel, Real Sports, the new one now is 30 for 30. I will be on that soon. But Real Sports with Brian Gumbel, they did a topic on Bernard Hopkins. And it was part of a mural by Jane Gold to put my mural up in graded forts, the old graded fort, not the new one, on the wall that I trained and hit the bag and sparred and boxed with thousands of inmates over the years in that gym. And everybody that came through that institution that was an inmate, even guards that worked there, whether they see me early in my pro career downtown or anywhere in Philadelphia, because I never left Philadelphia, they said, I seen your mural, man. I was locked up. I'm home now. I work. I got kids. I used to see the stories. I wish I had a recorder of the people that I met that don't know from a can of paint. They said they was in grade 4 and they see my mural on the wall. To me, that was great to come there and see my old trainers there. Smokey Wilson, who had life at 15 years. He got life. He just got released at the door 42 years in the penitentiary.
I met Muhammad Ali once, and I know you know him as well. And Muhammad Ali had a lot of sayings. And one of the sayings that he used, and I think this, you would probably say this applies to you. Muhammad Ali used to say, some folks are as good as they can be. I'm as good as I want to be.
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
100%.
Yeah. I use that saying a lot myself, but I'm not a world champion boxer. I lasted one day in a club.
But this ain't
boxing club.
But this ain't patronizing you to feel good. You might not be a world champion, because I get people say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm that, and I get it. But you are a world champion. It's just not in what I do. It's just not in boxing. It's just not in hockey or golf. Or it's not as this teacher or that teacher. Not this or that. Once people find their greatness or what they're good at before they get recognized through the world, you have to master that. But you also got to understand that nothing is given. It's earned. And when you earn it, you will walk with a different swag. You will talk with a different confidence, and you will also understand that you have a mission to pass it on, whether it's through interviews, whether it's through appearances, whether it's through anything that can get people to say that you might not never meet, but they might hear you no matter where they at, and they be inspired. You are blessed with those who you might not even know you touch, based on them hearing your voice, your encouragement. Everybody ain't waking up with a happy spirit every day. And it's not being in a position to say, I'm going to save the world. No. But it's somebody out there that need to hear your voice. Could be in your family, could be a friend. You never know. And if you go in that spirit that is this or that, then you're already going to fail. You got to go and know that it's a duty to also reach out to others without any other strings attached, and then let it come to you. I believe in that. I believe in, just like I believe in karma, I also believe in that the biggest blessing is to help others when you can. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk after you help yourself.
The winner by way of technical knockout, tonight earning his place in boxing history as he is now the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Bernard, the executioner Hopkins.
Exactly what he needed to move around.
157 pounds, 3 pounds under the limit. Some people thought, oh no, he'll be too weak. He wasn't too weak. He was too strong.
He tricked us all. He tricked us.